Today on Talking Business, we've got special guest Nicole Kobziewicz and her husband, Scott Kobziewicz. Kobziewicz. Sorry. Kobziewicz. And we're all people of business, and we're going to talk about systems and operations today, how we implement systems in our businesses, and how maybe you guys might get some ideas from what we talk about. So here we go. Nicole and Scott, it is a cold Thursday evening here in Owego, New York, and we've got some cool topics to talk about. So, Nicole, what's on the first topic of discussion for systems? I think we should really kind of all understand what do we mean by systems and operations when we're talking about business?
Yeah, exactly, because systems can be pretty deep. So there's multiple definitions, but I think the definition that we want to stay within for this podcast is a set of things working together as part of a mechanism or interconnecting network. Okay, so that's kind of complicated, right? It's a textbook, but then there's also this second definition that I think we should focus on. It says a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, an organized framework or method. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit easier to swallow.
Okay.
Right?
So what does that mean? We're going to start with you going around the table. What does it mean to you in your business, line of business?
Well, I'm a huge fan personally and in business on systems. I love a system that works for me because really what a system does for me personally is it brings me success and it brings peace.
Okay.
Right? It also helps with not wasting my time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you have systems in place, those are the perks, in my opinion. I see that the con to that system type of ideal is that I'm less with go with the flow.
A little more rigid.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
sometimes that's good.
I mean, it's structure, it's organization, right? It's really intentional with what you're doing. It's not lackadaisical, unintentional. There's this saying that's like focused intensity over time produces results. Mm-hmm. And I'm really a result type of person. The other day when we had a snow day and things kind of go awry for our household, right, Scott? I said to him, I don't care if we're working as long as we're productive. Right? As long as at the end of the day, even in the midst of having a snow day, we can walk away saying, great, it was an alternative kind of day, but we still hammered out this, that, or the other thing.
And I said, oh, man, I don't get to rest today.
Rest is not in your vocabulary, my friend. No, sir. Someday the R for retired, I feel like, doesn't stand for rest sometimes for some people. Maybe it does for you guys, but...
So what happens when your systems break down?
I think that there needs to be a constant assessment of systems, right? Because, if there's one thing for sure, that it's change is going to happen, right?
I think that if you have a creative personality or a creative side to your personality, I think you do better when systems break down because you're more able to, on the spot, continue because you're creative enough to get around. Not that it doesn't frustrate you, but if you have that creativity rather than maybe a backup. Maybe if you're more rigid, maybe you need a backup to your systems. But then that gets confusing because now you have systems for your systems.
Yeah, I think it all kind of comes down to, depending on the type of business and the type of goals and the things that need to get done, you've got certain activity that is like, I cannot mess around and let distractions or incoming things break up the system. And then there's other activity that you can allow a little bit more flexibility with what you do and try. I feel like, Nicole, can you kind of illustrate, because we're just going to piggyback off of you because I think you're a systems expert personally. paint a picture for people. What does your system look like? Starting from when you get your coffee and go to your desk, like what does the systems look like?
So for my business, the systems are pretty structured. And there's a benefit to having structure, right? Because even the clients that I might work with, they appreciate structure. Mm-hmm. They're not coming to the table to have a floundering coach to help them along the way. They're coming to the table with a coach who wants to kick butt and take names to help them, right? Yeah. To help them progress into their financial freedom journey or financial health journey. So, it's very important to have consistency. Mm-hmm. And so my structured system is like just going through, looking at my computer system, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where I keep a dashboard of data, right? So I go through that, see who I need to follow up with, see who I haven't heard from maybe in a while, right? So that's a system. It's a computer system.
You've got a database.
Database,
right. So first thing you do in the morning is you log in and look at the database and look at, it's for your business so people know you're in the financial business. So you're looking to, it's kind of like a numbers game a bit where like you need to contact your clients and or whoever, right? Whoever needs the help. You need to look at, there's a lot of tracking, contact tracking going on.
Huge, right. Tracking is important. And then also looking at my schedule for the day because I use an online Calendly type of system, which is the schedule that clients have booked for that day. And I see what time and who is going to be, needing their appointment, and I address that, So, and then, of course, when I'm working with a client, there's systems that we use to teach them, right? So there's the budgeting system. There's the how to save system. There's the how to control and maybe put up boundaries with their financial freedom journey, right? Like, and, my job is to, keep them on task and hold them accountable and advise them and encourage them through that whole process. The banking system is a huge one, right? A lot of times helping my clients get intentional with simplifying the chaos when it comes to finances. I can't tell you how many times I have clients who have 3 or 4 different bank accounts and they're all paying different bills. And or his and hers, or it can be complicated. And so it's just like, can we simplify the system, right? So that it's bringing you peace, that it's bringing you success.
Yeah. So Scott, you're in a different type of business. So what kind of work do you do?
So construction, handyman business, but my systems are no less associated with production than Nicole's are. However, mine are more along the lines of things have to be done in a certain order, or else I've found over time, you're redoing it. So now you're wasting time, and now it's costing your business money or unreimbursed time. For example, if I'm going to tile a floor, is the floor level? If it's not, get it level. Right? And then you can lay down your mastic and you can do your tiling. But then there's 24 hours before you can grout.
Right.
What are you going to do in that 24 hours to remain productive on that job site? So how have you set it up so that when that is drying, there's other things that you can be completing, and then the next morning, first thing you come in and you grout. But then the grout has to dry for 24 hours before you can walk on it.
Right.
So what are you doing in the meantime as other parts of the job to continue it moving along? Or maybe you say, I'm not going to grout until the end of the day.
Yours sounds like a lot like construction, like schedule. Your schedule needs to really be tailored towards the types of jobs that you're doing. Because if someone just wants their floor tiled and they don't want you to do anything else, then it's like, if I have other jobs and estimates and quotes or whatever, the schedule for you sounds like day to day is going to be different each day.
Or the client may control the way you do it. So I may want the floor level. The client might be okay with a slope. Okay. So
how do you protect yourself in the event of like, well, if this
You
isn't
have
done
to-
right,
You have to have the conversation,
set expectations.
right? And set expectations with the client so that they know. Because ultimately, they're the client, and the client's always right, right? The customer's always right.
Quotes.
Quote unquote, whether they know it or not, right? Because we all have blind spots. We all have
Right.
areas where we're ignorant. We just don't know it, and that being ignorant is not a bad thing. It just means we lack knowledge in a certain area, right? And so managing the expectations with the client, and if they still want it, then that's what they want.
Gotcha.
What I hear in Scott explaining that is a lot of time management,
Yeah.
right? Like,
And I feel like every business's systems, it comes down to time blocking and scheduling. And so like to kind of summarize this question and then move on to another topic for systems is for me, and when I worked in a corporate world, and every year we would do something at this time of year. It's called strategic planning, strat planning. And you define your goals for your business. And you make sure they're specific, measurable, attainable, and that you track your progress towards those things. So my activities and systems and processes are all going to be tied to the goal. And each week and each day, I'm going to document what I did to reach that goal. I write down who I talked to. I wrote down what came in, what my successes were. If it wasn't a day of trying to, onboard new customers or clients or whatever, it's what did I do to set up the success to get to that next point, right? Small wins, documenting wins, especially set for a business owner in their beginning stages of the business. And if you're in a relationship business or transactional, I mean, when it comes to businesses, it all comes down to relationships either way. But some businesses measure growth and success in different areas and different metrics. I find that documenting and coming up with a plan and coming up with goals that can really define what the systems are, right? Because it's like, what am I doing right now? Is it something that's getting me closer to that goal, right? That's how I kind of allow my systems to tell me if I'm doing something that I'm supposed to be doing or not.
Yeah.
And it's tough because I'll spend 3 hours with somebody because I know I'm really digging deep into a relationship, but I won't spend 3 hours on paperwork. Because I'm like, that can be done by someone else. And that's not growing my business. Like, someone else can do the paperwork. I'm not doing the paperwork. I need to be talking to people, right?
we call that a $5 task, right? Like, but I think objective data is really important, right? So like you have to surrender to where you are going to maximize your business, right? What is where your strength even, right? I was having a conversation today, even with identifying your strength and weakness as a business owner. Do you belong doing the things that you're weak at? Or does that belong being passed down to somebody else, an assistant, secretary, or what have you, right?
Delegating. Yeah.
Delegating, right. But the objective data is really, really important to have kind of give ourselves a report card, because we were talking about this before we started live with the podcast about, is it important to take an assessment on the progress that you're doing as a business, right? For me, it's very important that I'm tracking how much debt my clients have paid off collectively over the 5.5 years, which is, just got to share, it's $5 million. I mean,
Nice.
that's no, small task.
That's a lot.
So kudos to all those clients who have, made that happen. But that's important to me, because I want to make sure that when my clients are coming to the table, that we're reaching their goals, right? And paying off debt is just one goal of many, but it is a measurable goal, So it's very important to see that you are making a difference. You are, whether it's not just like Matt said, it's not just financial, it's other ways to measure, your relationships, your networking, your
progressing relationships and progressing in the business and taking the steps, right? And I think it's really easy. I don't know about you guys, but for a business owner to just look at it from a standpoint that I'm not doing enough. And it's like when it's the slow moments, when it's slow, business is slow. What are you doing to kind of scratch the itch of being like, I'm just sitting here, I got nothing, nothing's coming in. What do?
That's where trust and faith come into play.
Yeah.
Just knowing that you are stewarding over your business, and there's so much that it's out of your control. And just releasing control to, as long as I'm stewarding and I'm being responsible for this business that I'm doing, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't force people to want to participate or buy or,
Right.
Receive your services. You know
Right.
what I mean?
You can only just look at what your activity and what you've done, and did I take care of the people who've sought help from me? Are my current customers happy?
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right.
You can only control your controllables.
Right.
You can't
Right.
control the economy.
Right. Right.
Right. You can't control if the economy takes a downturn and it's the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, their money's going to go to the holiday.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so you do the best to control your controllables, and the rest of it it's a walk of faith for all of us.
Right. Right.
Whether you admit it or not,
yeah.
That's the way it works. And, the law of reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you put out, if you primarily put out good will eventually come back.
That's how I feel.
Givers
And
gain,
the
right?
way it usually works is it comes back in spades, and you can't keep up, and you're complaining that now you don't have enough time.
Yeah. People who are like, oh, I'm booking up out, and I'm like, that's a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, it's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have, but also you probably have seen examples where that becomes the focus. And now they've lost this autonomy of their time, which is why they went into business for themselves, right? Is to have flexibility, to have options. And all of a sudden they just got hung up on making the dollar bills when the dollar bills are there, right? Like, it's not to lose sight of your own flexibility, who you are as a spouse, who you are as a parent, who you are in the community. I mean, there's so many other factors. It's not all about money, So I think that's something that we can often get sidetracked with. And then sometimes, in my case, in working with small businesses, I see people get sidetracked with making money, and now we've lost sight of even the other business responsibilities. That if you aren't able to manage and you're not able to hire out, do you belong being a business owner? Because there's those responsibilities that come, right? Like,
yeah, I witnessed kind of some of that firsthand in manufacturing. Is like, it's like the system order of operations when it comes down to like a manufacturing business or a small business that does anything. You take in the order, you look over the specifications or whatever and make sure it's something you can build. And then it gets passed on to the operations team who figures out how we're going to build it, when we're going to build it, where we're going to build it to optimize the most cost effectiveness, and then ship the product and get paid. But a lot of times things get messed up, or sometimes things get messed up and, this department here needs hours and, balancing. We got a bunch of people over here not doing anything, and the wages are $34 an hour or whatever. Really, this isn't something that we're set up to build, but we're going to send it out there anyway. And quality may or may not be good on it, or it's going to cost a lot more to set up, but we're going to do it because we got a lot of guys. We need to hit hours, right? Mm-hmm. And like balancing systems with also making sure that it's cross-functional amongst departments. I feel like in the corporate America sense is where it can get messed up. Yeah. It's like, okay, we're gonna build this product in New York and ship it to Mexico for assembly and packaging and ship it out. It's like, all right, but are they like, which departments are tooled up? We're not tooled, or there's just dilemmas, right, that can really throw off the system. And when it's a free for all, and not everybody's reading the same. This guy who retired, he says all the time, reading off the same sheet of music. We're not all reading the same sheet of music. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't understand how this place is still standing. Like, yeah. So systems and operations, I think when it comes each business, it's going to look different.
Yeah, for sure. Even onboarding new staff, right? There's a system to that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not clearly laying out the description of the new employees' job duties, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's another system that, how many of us are really valuing in that new employee needs to have structure, needs to know exactly what their role is, versus, well, wherever we need you is where we're going to put you. And there, it's just like up in the air.
If you're someone listening to this and you're new to the workforce and you're getting, we'll find something for you to do, and they're not articulating
there's your sign.
how you're being, what your performance ratings are around. If you don't know how you're being graded and what you're supposed to be doing, then there's a problem, because management just holds the cards. And if they're not telling you what you're supposed to be doing, they're going to tell you in your appraisal what you weren't doing.
100%.
Well, I think too is that's where you need to nail down your job description.
True.
What is my job description? Knowing that one of the things on that is always other tasks as assigned.
Right. So yeah, I mean, there's systems and operations even for when you get hired, for when you run a business, when you're an employee. You should have a system, man. Like if you're out, in it, you've got to understand how the game is played. Like, know what the performance is, and you got to understand when you get your performance appraisal, not everyone's getting a 3. Okay, you can't. Not everyone can get a 3. Someone's gonna get a 2. All right.
Well, even let me throw this out there to employees, right? If you're listening to this and you're an employee, you may know the system better than your manager.
True. There's a thing called failing upward,
but you still have to stay in your lane.
Right.
And eventually you're going to shine through, and then you're going to shine forward, right?
I think we all went into business primarily because we got sick of the environment of, you're good at what you're doing. You're putting in all your effort, and you're running on a treadmill and staying lateral and not getting. There's always something they'll throw in your way to getting you to the next step. And that's a big reason why I was like, I'm just going to get paid what I'm worth. I don't need someone to tell me what I'm worth.
Yeah.
Or get, messed around.
And that takes courage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it takes courage because there's insecurity in the stableness of income, perhaps, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, financial health is a huge factor in that. But, back to what you were saying about the systems, one of my biggest pet peeves that I have personally and professionally is like, if you ask me to do something and you only give me 50% of the deck of cards and expect positive results.
Yeah, and then blindside you.
That is setting me up or anybody up for failure.
I hate when people get set up for failure and they don't tell you the other half of it. Like they'll just tell you all the good stuff to get you to. That's happened. It's happened before. A lot of hiring managers will just tell you all the rainbows and, butterflies and stuff, good fun of it. You have great opportunity for growth here, and we have very competitive benefits. Okay, cool. Well, what's the work like?
Right.
I remember when I interviewed out of college, I asked, and my manager he's my buddy, but I asked him, how's the culture? And he couldn't really give me an answer. And that's how I knew. Well, I didn't know at the time, but I was like, because I was naive. I was 21 years old, and I was like, well, all right. I guess that he was stumped by that question. He didn't know what to say because the culture is awry. After you find that out 5 years later, the culture is just like not acceptable. And it's like, well, okay, guys, well, read the signs, take the signs. Don't just be naive to it and be like, I'm hoping for a good salary figure if you guys offer me the job. Don't just bite on that,
Well, what I would say to new graduates is that down the line, you may not be married now, you may not have kids now, but eventually you're going to be married and you may have children. And what you say yes to now is going to carry over positively or negatively to when things change in your life, where now you have a mortgage and now you have car payments and now you have kids and they're sick or whatever it may be. And so being careful at the front end to think about the things that don't exist in your life now, because they may very well exist in your life down the road, and it changes everything. Right, so that's personal systems. We just took it into personal systems.
That's fine. Systems apply to everything. We're not just talking about Microsoft Suite or Office or here. We're just talking about all there. You should have some sort of strategy, like system or process, or think things. Basically, the message is like you got to think things out.
Right.
Here, you can't just go in to something not having an idea. Which there are some things that you're going to go into and not having an idea, but like you need to establish a process and a system.
Yeah. So would you guys say that you've been system oriented since you were younger, or it's something that has developed over time?
I used to get laughed at because my bedtime was 8:30 and I would be asleep by 8:30. I would read and I'd fall asleep. But guess what? I woke up at 6, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
That's
no,
right.
I was still tired. I could have slept for 12 hours. I'm like a dog. I could have slept forever. But everybody would text me late at night and be like, dude, I texted you at 10:30 and you didn't text back. I'm like, yeah, I was asleep. And they're like, what? I'm like, I need 8 hours of sleep to come in and function. Yeah, ever since I was young, I was a systems-oriented person. I would, if I didn't do something in a given day that I usually do, it would be off. I would be off.
Because sometimes I feel like part of our upbringing maybe developed those character traits in us.
And
you know what I mean?
I need that structure.
I mean, I wouldn't see it as systems back then. I would call it organization.
Yeah.
Right, because organization helps you proceed quickly and efficiently from one place to the other. So I was a little OCD in the neatness area. I still probably am, Nicole.
See.
Care to weigh in,
And-
Nicole, or
See
plead the
why.
fifth?
And just organized in notes in school because, you wanted to succeed. Yeah, but there's other parts of my life where not so much, right? I shoot off the cuff. I can stand up in front of people and talk without notes, and we can have a great old lecture or conversation.
Yeah.
But that may be more personal than it is anything else. But at the same time, maybe because you do have systems or organization in other parts of your life, it allows those other less systematized areas to work.
Yeah, the less. I know that for me, at least systems, I think I really needed to develop the habit because, as if you guys know me, I'm pretty easily distracted sometimes.
There's a chicken.
No.
Yeah. So my parents would be like, hey, you get home, you sit at the kitchen table, you do your homework. When your homework's done, then you can go get up and do things. And I did that from I don't know. I think I started getting my stuff together around 5th grade. 4th or 5th grade. 6th grade, I was good. 7th grade was my best year ever in life. 7th grade. I was the best at everything. I don't know what happened. Then I peaked, and then it was over. But, yeah, it was I'd come in, do my homework. So, having that system in place is I'm not allowed to go talk to friends or play with friends. Or I'm not doing stuff after school. I'm not going to the soccer game or whatever. I'm going home. I'm doing my homework. If that was done, then I was good.
Right.
But when I didn't do it, it's trying to do it at 8:30 at night. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing this.
Right. Right.
I'm failing. You fail.
Yes. One of those things that it actually explains exactly what you just said was when I grew up, it was you pay before you play. So that's a perfect example, right? So for me, it was getting my chores done, my homework, you know what I mean? And all of that had to be done. My room had to be cleaned, in the morning, all that kind of stuff. And so I've tried to install that in our children, and I've gotten some kickback.
It's a different world.
Kickback. No way.
It's a different world.
It's a different world.
Not that I want to enable my kids to not
No, but it is a
understand
different
that,
world.
but-
There's way more distractions. Even so, let's keep this to people.
These things
In
right
business, there's way more distractions. We have a phone.
Yeah.
We have these little mini computers that are constantly giving
here-
us alerts, and people are calling us, and we're getting 15 million texts that we don't have time to get to because we have other things that need to be done. And so it's a different world.
People can, as a business owner, to tie it all back in, right? So you're sitting at your kitchen table, you need to do your homework, whether that's you're filing your quarterly taxes or you're doing whatever, you're buying inventory for the store, and you got customers blowing up your email, and you're looking at your phone every 5 seconds, and it's going to, a 30-minute task is now taking you 2 hours.
Yep.
Throw the damn phone out the window,
Yep.
exit out of the email, and do the work, right, that you need to get done. What needs to get done right now? Can your customers wait, or can the emails wait, the text messages wait 15 minutes, right? Time blocking, the system. What is your system? You know, you have to identify and understand what is it that I need to do every day to keep the lights on and keep money coming in, and what time windows am I giving myself to do that with no distractions?
Yeah, it goes back to that equation, focus, intensity over time.
That's right.
Right, focused intensity, right? Because all those emails, who's in charge, right? What comes first, your business or
Answering emails?
answering emails? The email is going to be there, but if you don't file your quarterly taxes, the IRS is going to be knocking on your door, and you might not have a business.
Right. Or if you don't finish,
so then you'll have no customers emailing you.
Right. Yeah. And these are all things, Nicole, you talk to way more business owners than I do, but I'm sure you hear some things that are just like,
right.
How do we not? It's kind of, you've talked about this before, but like New York State, really, I feel like every state, we're in a country where we believe in free trade, and we believe in the opportunity to make a living off of creating a business and freedom, right? Having this freedom. But we don't give resources to people to be successful. We do nothing in my opinion, there's no mandatory anything, you know, for like, hey, you should really make sure you've got a plan before you drop everything and open a business.
Well, the one plan that I am familiar with, and I actually did myself, and I hear other businesses have done this, and that's through Binghamton University, or even Broome Community College even has a small business
administration.
SBA, right?
Yeah.
So they help you.
And Chris talked about that.
But they're only helping you with certain things. They're helping you with, like, does our current county serve the population for the business that you want to do, right? What's your niche? They do things like that are important, but there's nobody addressing how are you going to financially fund this? How are you going to manage? How are you going to stay on top of your taxes? How are you going to stay on top of filing your taxes? Because this whole extension thing has gotten out of control. And really, when you file an extension, it's just because you're not prepared. You're not on top of stewarding over your P&L, your profit and loss in business, right? So, like, again, it comes back to, if you're not able to steward over all the responsibilities of business, do you? And it's just an honest question. It's not in judgment. It's just an honest question. Do you belong being a business owner? Now, all of us were meant to be entrepreneurs, even though we might have something to sell.
Right.
You know?
You might as well just try and sell that thing to a business with capital.
Right.
So it's like there's a massive failure rate with new entrepreneurs. I think they say that like 3 to 5% success rate for people trying to start a business. Most of them go out of business after the 5th year. It takes 5 years to get a business up and running.
5 years seems to be a milestone type of thing in business.
And what happens if you're in the red for the first year?
I mean, that's a perfect question, you know, and I talk to business owners all the time that tell me that they're not even clearing the month. And so you have to take that honest question again. Do you belong in business? Right? I'm not saying 1 month, right? Because that business should have an emergency fund, which is what I help them do. But, like, I'm saying consecutive months. If you are not clearing expenses, there's a problem. We need to reassess. Can we fix it? And if we can't, then it comes down to that hard question, which no one wants to surrender their business after they've invested in it and put their grit into it, right? Like, it's hard, right? But at the same time, if you continue going the way you are, this hard is going to go from hard but to, like, sunk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So one of the questions I have for you guys is, have you ever built a system that somebody, I mean, Scott kind of hit on this a little bit when it comes to being the handyman and someone not wanting to have him do, say, a kitchen floor on a level floor. But the question is have you ever built a system that somebody else completely resisted? And how
you give
did
an
you
example?
how did you handle that? So for Scott, he gave an example of like, hey, listen, the person that hired me, they don't care if the floor is level, but they just want me to put in tile. Well, what's going to happen is tile's going to crack over time.
Maybe not, but
That's the risk, right?
that's the risk, and the risk is you spill water on it, and it's going to go somewhere
Down.
instead of staying in a semi-neat puddle on the floor. It's going to roll somewhere. Is that down your heating duct?
Yeah, right.
I don't know where it's going to roll.
Right. So when you
Up
give them the
against the
truth,
drywall, and then the drywall is going to get wet, and then you're going to have mold.
right? Because you said, well, how do you handle that? And you said a conversation needs to be had. So when you have that conversation of speaking truth, that's all it is. And with truth, they get to decide because it's their house, their project. Did they say it's okay? I don't care.
We have choices. Everybody has choices, right? And everybody has a different level of comfort with certain things. And I think that we have to, we talk about being free, right? And that's the great part about America is you have to allow people to have their different comfort levels and be okay with it. And you cover yourself by making sure you educated them on the possible downsides. Mm-hmm. And that's the best you can do because ultimately it's their money, it's their house, it's their time, it's their choice. Mm-hmm. And that's what freedom's all about. We're free to make good choices and we're free to make bad choices.
Right. Matt, do you have any examples?
Yeah. So, we get this sometimes. I guess people who try to I'm going to use vague terms, but liquidate assets that shouldn't be liquidated during a particular time that's not for that specific purpose, and facing penalties and stuff like that. And you try your best for your process to set expectations and time frames and what things are specific for, like what's a certain asset is supposed to be used for to pay for in the future.
Right. And
when people don't follow that or resist it, that doesn't work. The system doesn't work. Your system and process doesn't work. And if they don't follow that, then in my business, I can't really work with you if they're not gonna follow.
So you'll go to that level of
yeah. If you're not gonna follow, well, you communicate and document everything, but if you're not gonna follow the process, we're not a good fit, and I've got to walk away.
Yeah, I respect that because it puts you in a place of like, listen, I'm here to help you, and if I can't help you, despite the fact of your own wallet, you're willing to let them walk away, right? So that's very respectful.
Yeah, and they're not worth I don't want to say they're not worth, but they could be a problem. It could be a problem.
Liability,
also.
maybe?
Liability.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to bring
Someone
that
could come
up,
back and
liability, right?
yeah.
So what's the level of liability that's involved? So if I know the water is flowing right towards a wall that has electricity running in it, but they don't want to pay what it takes for time and materials to do it right, then I'm not your contractor.
Yeah, yeah. There's got to be some level of walking away. You don't, depending on your business, obviously, if you run a grocery store or a hardware store, it's like, yeah, whatever. If you want to come in and buy a floor, some sort of product that's you're going to use it for not intended purpose, great. It says on there not to use and for use it for its intended purpose. Great. I'm not going to be liable for selling you something that you used inaccurately. But someone like Scott, who is a contractor, right? To what point do you say, or will insurance companies come through and say, did you do what a reasonable person would do or what makes logical sense, right? You never know what your liability insurance company might say. It's like, well, hey, you installed a dishwasher underneath the floor or whatever, something stupid, and it caused water leakage in a house fire, whatever, right? There's got to be some sort of point of where we say, okay, I'm not taking that on. It's not, I got 9 other people who are willing to listen to me. You're the one person who wants to do it the dumb way. I'm not going to even stress myself out with that.
So I can do electric, I can run electric, but I'm not a licensed electrician. And if I do electric in somebody's house and it's all done and it's done right and it's done according to code, but there is a fire in the house that destroys the house,
Comes back to you.
the insurance company will not pay the claim because a licensed electrician did not do the work.
Yeah.
And so these are the conversations.
Scapegoat. It's a scapegoat.
These are the conversations that I have to know where my liability is. But at
Right.
the same time, the conversation with the homeowner is that, do you know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's same thing with our chamber. If you want to lump the chamber into this conversation, I know we're running short on time, but it's like the fireworks thing. They're illegal in New York State. Most insurance companies will not cover even if you have a license to light them off, they're not going to cover a loss if you screw something up and one shoots out and hits a structure and whatever. We're screwed. That person's insurance company's not going to cover it.
Right.
They're going to go, why were their fireworks being lit off? Who lit them off? These people did. Oh, great. Okay, so they're liable because they did something, even though they had a license. The insurance is astronomical, and they're not going to want to pay the claim.
Yeah.
It all comes down to insurance company. It's fireworks. When I was a kid, I almost burnt a field down in March because these fireworks knocked over and shot everywhere, and I was stomping out grass
I almost
fires
burned the next door lady's garage down.
with fireworks.
Well, kind of.
Well,
I can neither confirm nor deny what actually happened. It's between me and the participants at the time.
Gotcha. Yeah, we've all had close calls with stuff and doing things, and it's, you got to just weigh the liability with what you're willing to take on and the risk. And
I mean, I kind of go about this with being very thorough, right? So the education you guys are talking about, like that's super important to make sure that the people that we're working with in business, they know, okay, if you're choosing option A, this is what it looks like. If you're choosing option B, this is what it looks like, and kind of identify the pros and the cons, right? Because at the end of the day, it's the other person's journey, right? For Matt, it's, that person's future. For Scott, it's how you want to deal with future ramifications of a decision today, right? For myself, it's, like, do you want to speed up this process, slow this process down, or create a hurdle for yourself, right? And so it's just about clearly identifying what it looks like and why. But at the end of the day, it is their own journey. You know what I mean? We walked our financial freedom journey with some things that we knew were going to slow us down, but that was well with us. We knew exactly what we were getting into. I despise, another pet peeve of mine is the woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? Like, I appreciate learning from other people's mistakes. I don't necessarily have to feel that pain to learn. I appreciate learning from others. I think that's wisdom. But some of us, we're hard-headed and we have to learn walking.
I usually,
Opposites
it
attract.
depends on who's telling me. If my wife's telling me not to do something, I'll do it and learn the hard way. If my friend is telling me to do something or not do something, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'll listen to you.
Oh, no.
Your priorities are messed up.
I'm always, the thing is like, it's the same thing with your kids. You're always telling them what to do, and there's this desensitization. And then what if, like, your friend says, hey, man, you should listen to your mom. She said not to do that. And you might be like, oh, my friend's not on my side? All right. But when you're always getting that same person telling you to do something, you're like, yeah, what do you know? And then they always end up being right because that's how it works. And then you're like, oh, I should have listened. I mean, tail between your legs.
Yeah. Sometimes it is meeting someone where they're at, right? Because until someone is truly sick and tired of being sick and tired, they're not willing to change. You know what I mean? So in the past, like, I've had clients who don't want to take the recommendation of, let's say, a budgeting form. So there's lots of budgets that just list your expenses, but they don't see the other side of it, which is the tracking. So, like, for example, the Excel style, right? That's just a list of your income and your expenses, but it doesn't show your behaviors and where all the extra money's going. And so for some people who oppose to being teachable, in learning a different way where we get to see this type of behavior, which is a huge 80% of people's financial health, I'm like, okay, let's do the Excel. And within due time of them not being able to answer questions that they have about their own current monthly, habits, then usually they need to see that, right? They need to be able to answer that and realize that for themselves versus someone telling them that this is the better way to go.
Yeah.
So sometimes, failure is the best lesson.
Yeah. And not giving up, even if you're trying to change your behavior, I mean, it comes down to, you set goals. Anytime you're trying to achieve anything, you're setting goals and you're measuring and hey, I'm not going to spend this much this month or whatever it is. But there has to be, you got to be hungry for it. You have got to want to do it. Because the body is a creature of habit and you're going to keep doing what you know to do. And you're going to do it subconsciously. And you got to want to override that. And it's hard.
There's this saying, and I might butcher it, but it's like when the pain of staying is worse than the pain of change is when change begins. Have you ever heard of that?
No, that's good. Makes sense.
But when you think about it, right? Like it
and the
does,
pain of staying is worse than the pain of change.
right? Because the change is unknown.
Right. That's true. That's when, yeah.
It's scary, right? It's unknown. And sometimes familiarity is comfortable.
You're like, get to a point where you're like kind of just saying anything is better than this.
Right.
That is the ultimate extreme. I won't get that far. I won't go that. I'm just going to be like, I'll say there's got to be something better. Like, this can't be it. This can't be it. No way.
Oh, boy. He's young, honey.
Yeah.
I think that no matter what, I mean, there's always going to be seasons that don't meet your expectations. Just is what it is. It's part of living on planet Earth, right? Nobody enters a race to lose, right? And when they do enter a race, they better be training leading up to that race. But sometimes things just don't go right. It just doesn't happen the way you want it to happen. And I think it's having, struggle, hardship. If you continue to put your hand to the plow, teaches you stick-to-itiveness. So that when it doesn't go exactly the way you thought it would in that season, it's just a season. There's another season coming. Stick to it. Stand your ground. Apply your systems. Keep working it. They've proven that they work in the past. There's no reason that they won't work in the future. Stick with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point and a good point to kind of end with.
Just a funny story about the race thing, though. Remember 5K Strawberry Fest?
Yeah.
Right? The competition they do the night before. And I've never been like a diehard runner, but I have ran races to increase my, physical fitness or
endurance,
just challenge myself in ways, right? And so signed up for the Strawberry Fest race once, and Scott came down to watch, and I had to be in the front. I mean, now, did I think I was going to win this race? No, but if you start in the back, you're already losing.
You're losing.
I mean, is that weird?
No.
To me, it makes complete sense. Like,
no, you
give me a
give
shot.
yourself a chance to get out.
Yes, exactly.
Why are you? Yeah, if you have any ounce of competitiveness, you're going to be like, well, I'm starting back here. This definitely isn't going to. I might as well just be going for a run down the street.
Yeah.
The problem is she thinks she's a motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
No.
Did you sprint the first mile?
I sprinted.
Did you try and keep up with the front runner? Because
yes, and then quickly, obviously, I realized that I'm not in that competition level.
I try to do that, and then I cramp up immediately, and then it makes the last 2.5 miles the worst. Let's end on something fun. Have you ever tried? What sports did you guys play when you were in high school?
Soccer.
Volleyball, softball.
So you're more of sprinting around, and you were volleyball and softball. So like when you played soccer, though, like I don't know, you ever get like really tired in like the beginning of a shift or something? It's easier to not think about it when you're playing soccer because you're like, oh, I'm kicking the ball, I'm chasing, stopping, going.
It's the
what was
competitive desire to win overrides whatever fatigue.
Yeah.
That is in your body.
So for me,
But that takes training.
it
Right?
does.
You can't, if you're not trained, you don't have good endurance, then I'm out.
Yeah, when we used to run I used to run cross country, and that was the worst because it's just a lot of times it's just you. Like you're probably you might be alongside some other runners, but it's like, I remember, and my wife says this all the time, but it's so true. It's like you run the first mile, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired, and all you could think about is just being tired. And it's funny because it's like literally at that point it's a fight against yourself. Where it's like when you're playing soccer or softball, there's all these things happening around you.
Distractions.
And you're in an athletic stance for an hour and a half or half hour at a time, and you're not thinking about how your legs feel.
Right.
And you're not thinking about any of that. You're distracted. But when you're doing something by yourself,
yes,
it's hard.
Right.
Well, I think you touched on it, right? It's a mental battle,
It's
right?
mind
it's
over
a
matter,
complete
yeah.
mental battle.
It's mind over matter, and it's stinking thinking. Do I give in to stinking thinking and believe a lie, or do I give in to the truth?
And the same thing applies to business. And when we're like, I'm by myself and running this business, and it's really, really hard. And the work I need to do is really hard, and I'm uncomfortable doing it, and it's really hard. All right, well, the minute, if you can remove yourself from that and say, well, if I were around a bunch of people right now and they're all looking at me and I'm a competitive person, they're like, you need to do this, you'd be doing it.
Right. Right.
Well, I think that's where mentors come in, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in business and you don't have a mentor or a group that is, I don't want to really use the word accountability group, but it really is.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be on an island.
Accountability. You can't do it alone. You need people to bounce things off of. Specifically, if what you do is you're a solo entity, right? You need people of like mind, like practices to bounce things off, to tell you it's okay, to talk you down off the ledge when there really is no ledge. You're just in a stinking thinking mindset.
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's a spiral. Yeah, I think that's our for people in the area, that's where our chamber can, I think, be a good fit for somebody.
Good segue.
It's a good segue. That's a nice bridge. NorthernTiogaChamber.org. That's our website. You should check us out. If you want to be a member, it's only $60 a year, $5 a month. I mean, it's not bad. And we do stuff like this, like go on podcasts and stuff and support our local communities and business community. We had Nicole and Scott Kobziewicz on today. I always have to say it twice.
It's that good a name.
It's that good. I always feel like I had to say it wrong the first time. But they've been great today here talking about systems and operations on this episode of Talking Business. We've got a few more episodes before we take a mid-season break here around Christmas time, but then we got some real good episodes coming up after the new year, so make sure you guys subscribe. Thanks for listening.